Welcome, everybody. I am calling this Board of Education meeting to order. It is 6:04 p.m. We're in the Nashua North Boardroom. It is January 27th, 2025. And Ms. Lampier, can you do the roll call?
Sure. Ms. Darling? Here. I am here. Ms. Raymond?
Here.
Ms. Brent?
Here.
Mr. Claffey?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. Daniels-Williams?
Here.
Ms. Gilio?
Here.
And Ms. Bishop?
Here.
Okay, so we also have Dr. Andrade, Mr. Posca, and Mr. Gray here. And our student reps? I thought you might be one
Come
of
on
them.
down.
Welcome.
Right at your name tag.
Sorry I got late, guys. I went to South instead of North. Nice to meet you all. I'm Shrey.
We'll do a little introduction. We'll get to the student board members' comments, and we'll have you introduce yourself.
Absolutely.
When you're speaking, you need to sit down and have the green light on your mic on. If the green light isn't on, then only we can hear you, and it's not being recorded, and it just looks like you're talking to yourself with no words coming out.
Okay.
So we will get to you in just 1 minute.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Lampier, will you do the prayer and then the pledge? And then, Ms. Prin made eye contact with me first, the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and the serious duty of managing the educational institutions of our beloved city. In our common endeavors, may we find a spirit of unity and understanding, which will enable us to face our multiple problems with an objective mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will be for the betterment and greater happiness of all of our fellow citizens.
All right, let's jump right into the consent agenda. I would be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion. I'll second. So moved.
Ms. Gilio and Ms. Raymond seconded. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
That's Ms. Darling. Motion passes. This brings us up to our first public question comment period. Ms. Darling, it is now your new role to,
I'm sorry I forgot to wear any cute heels tonight.
that's okay. We are here for safety only. No one signed up. Okay, well, that makes things go quickly. I will hand the floor over to Dr. Andrade for superintendent's comments.
Thank you. Pleased to announce or share with the public some great award winners over the last month. First, in early January, the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards announced the winners among New Hampshire students who submitted their artwork. We are thrilled to share that several talented Nashua students have been recognized for their creativity and dedication to the craft. Congratulations to the following students for their outstanding achievements. Clarissa Soares from Fairgrounds Middle School, Lily Ruff from Pennachuck Middle School, Anna Clara de Lima from McCarthy Middle School, Felicity Vulture, McCarthy Middle School, Gianna Lucrezia from Nashua High School South, Brendan DaCosta from Nashua High School South, Elizabeth Chung from Nashua High School South, Mercedes Johnson from Nashua High School South, Sonia Kelkar from Nashua High School South, Ella Mansman from Nashua High School South, Julia O'Connor, there's a theme here, from Nashua High School South, breaking it a little bit, Alexis McCarthy from North, and Jalen Nugin from North. These students join a prestigious legacy of young artists celebrated by the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, a program founded in 1923 to honor the vision, ingenuity, and talent of young creators. The awards are presented by the Alliance for Young Artists and Writers, with support from hosts of generous sponsors, including Scholastic Inc., Blink Art Materials, and the National Endowment of the Arts. I also like to share Nashua South awarded the Computer Science Diversity Award. Thanks to the hard work and educators and young women at Nashua High School South, we just received the College Board Female Diversity Award for expanding young women's participation in AP Computer Science A. During the 23-24 school year, 1,153 institutions achieved an AP Computer Science Female Diversity Award for a CSA, CSP, or both courses. Award contenders must either have reached 50% or higher female representation in one of two AP computer courses or have achieved a percentage of female computer science exam takers. South was one of only 237 schools recognized for improving the female representation in AP computer science. So congratulations, South. In high schools, this is a big week for our North-South Battle of the Bridge events. At the North Sohegan South Pelham Battle of the Bridge hockey game on Wednesday, the 29th, we will be celebrating Military and First Responder Appreciation Night, something that South Pelham has been doing for several years. This will be the first year it is done in conjunction with the Battle of the Bridge. As of right now, the Battle of the Bridge standings, South is currently leading 4-2. We have 7 events this week: hockey on Wednesday night, unified and sub-varsity basketball on Thursday, varsity on Friday, and the final event will be wrestling on February 10th. Thank you.
Wow, that's fantastic news. I love seeing and hearing all of the awards coming in and accolades. We'll start over here with Ms. Darling for response to superintendent's comments.
I was actually wondering if you would mind also giving us, we hear all these wins from all the different schools, and I would love to hear some of the wins from central office as well and be able to highlight you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Raymond?
I'm so glad that you brought all that. It's truly remarkable how well our students do here in Nashua. We consistently place kids high on both academic, arts, and athletic things. And I'm so pleased for the kids and so excited to have staff that's so dedicated.
Ms. Prin?
I want to echo Ms. Raymond's thoughts. I really think that it's great that these kids have achieved this, and that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Claffey?
No comment.
Mr. Johnson?
I love all the artists getting those awards, especially one in particular. But yeah, no, as an artist myself, it's great to see them working hard and accomplishing this. And the Scholastic Award is a great award to achieve. So congratulations to all the artists.
Thank you. Ms. Daniels-Williams?
I just want to say congratulations to all the kids for all their achievements. Keep up the good work.
Ms. Gilio?
Thank you, Dr. Andrade, for sharing all these good things at the beginning of our meetings. It always is very uplifting, and I appreciate it.
Ms. Lampier?
I just want to echo what everybody else said. It's great to hear about things the kids are accomplishing, and it's great that you bring that to us, Dr. Andrade, and that you know who's being successful and who deserves accolades. Thanks.
I don't know if everybody signed up for the new Nashua School District Facebook page, but they posted a lot of the pictures and paintings that won the awards, and I was blown away by the quality of these pieces. I mean, we've definitely spent some time at the Museum of Fine Arts, and they felt like that was adjacent too. So it was really cool to see that and to see us celebrated in that platform. So that brings us up to our next item on the list, the student member of the board comments, and we want to introduce you. Sheikh, we met you last time, and Shrey, we haven't met you yet. You guys will figure out how you're gonna go back and forth, but how about we start off with you, and you can start off by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about yourself and why you're here. And don't forget to turn your mic on till it's green. There you go.
Am I on?
Yes.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Shrey. I'm a junior at Nashua South. I'm really privileged and honored to have this position as the Student Board of Education representative. I look forward to working with all of you in the upcoming year, and I hope we can get some good things done. Thank you. Congratulations to all of our winners, and congratulations to all the schools that have won athletic games. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good morning. How are you all doing?
Good?
Thank you. I will say I did walk in late. I was running late. I thought the meeting started at 6:30, just because that's what it was last time.
yeah,
It must
that-
have slipped my mind on the agenda. So I wasn't here for the superintendent's comments. So on that, have no comment.
Okay, thank you. This brings us up to, we're very excited to work with both of you in the next upcoming year. And if you have any questions, your board liaison is Mr. Claffey. So if you have any questions about policy, procedure, what to expect, he's the person to reach out to. Just email him. You guys can either set up times to meet or you can just chat as needed. So he's your board guru. And he's very happy about it. Did you have something, Ms. Raymond?
Just guru. Don't ever associate me with guru. Of
Okay,
any-
sorry. King. Ms. Raymond?
I did actually, because Mr. Shaw wasn't able to be here last time when we went over kind of the rights and roles of the student board members. So I just wanted to mention that the student board members are always allowed to raise their hand,
Yes.
ask questions on any matter that we're discussing, share your thoughts on any matter that we're discussing, and I think you guys have
Honorary voting
an
rights.
honorary vote too, so you can choose to vote when we vote, or you can choose not to.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
So I just know over the last years, it's really helpful to have the student perspective.
Yes. Yep.
Yes, and I'll be sure to give it to you. And thank you, Mr. Claffey, for being our liaison to the board. I'm sure we will be in contact shortly.
Thank you, guys. All right, this brings us up to our Committee on Finance and Operations, so I will hand the floor over to Ms. Lampier.
Thank you, Ms. Bishop. So we met on the 14th, and the first motion is a motion to approve a 5-year contract for the Nashua School District website platform with Final Site. We have an agreement for 5 years. July 1st, 2025, we'll be paying them $54,540. July 1st, 2026, it'll be $56,438. July 1st, 2027, $58,215. July 1st, 2028, $60,063. And July 1, 2029, $61,985. And that money will come from account 91.1.992225.71228. And can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
I have a question too.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I noticed in the quotes that the quotes were all over the place, like they were just vastly different. And so I'm curious about that. And then I'm also curious about whether this comes with a totally new website or if it's simply maintaining the one that we have now. And I apologize, I did not watch the finance meeting, so I didn't do my homework.
I don't know, I mean, the quotes being all over the place was part of the reason why we decided to go with Final Site.
Yeah.
And they were really transparent about what we would be getting for the payments. And also Blackboard. Blackboard was bought by Final Site. So the transition from Blackboard to Final Site should be pretty smooth because we're going to have help from both sides to make the transition. And you want to speak?
Sure. Just to jump in, I think to echo what was already said, the RFP that came through, the bids, of course, as you can see, all over the place for sure. I think the Final Site contract will be a good partnership. I think if Greg was here tonight, he'll echo that. It is truly a full website revamp. So our new social media individual that we hired a few months back, Cameron, will be going ahead and taking on this responsibility. And it's really to make the synergy across the school district, right? I think a lot of folks would see right now the website if, depending on what school you look at, they're all different. So we'll definitely be working towards some type of consistency for sure. And then I think it wasn't clear in some of the RFP responses that we did receive, as far as, one just had a 1-year contract. They were going ahead, I think it was eGrove Systems. They took it as they were gonna go ahead and redo the website 100% for us, not necessarily a platform for us to work with them. So I think that's why the cost you'll see for eGrove Systems was roughly $170,000 for 1 year.
Go ahead.
Two follow-ups. One is, will the new website be able to have all of the capabilities that the Department of Justice wants us to have to be accessible to all of our families in whatever language they need? And the other one is there an anticipated rollout or changeover date sometime in, is it a year out or what?
So final site actually is done at the end of December. So sooner than later, we'll start to go ahead and get that process going. And then, yes, it will be ADA compliance and then also translation on there as well.
Fantastic.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Sorry. So for the website online, I just hope that there's a little more information on upcoming events and projects for high schoolers. It's right now on the website. I've been on it quite recently. It's kind of hard to figure out where everything is, and especially for us high schoolers. So I was hoping there can be some accommodations made to include our events and dates more clearly and concisely.
Absolutely. I think too, with the new social media rollouts that we just did, I know with Facebook and Instagram, there's been a lot more posting on there. So we can definitely pass that along to central office.
Absolutely, that would be great. Also, I know quite a few high schoolers, as we were just talking about in the AP Computer Science, like our AP Computer Science, has been rolling off the charts recently. So if you guys need another option, I'm sure a bunch of high schoolers would be willing to help build the website, manage it with you. I know quite a few people that have had experience with building websites. So if that is needed, we can definitely set that up.
We love that. Thank you. Is this website going to be easier to access on our cell phones?
Yes.
Which is in a horribly inconvenient way to try to look up our district.
No, we're definitely excited for the conversion. I think there's be many more tools, but it's also the quote, like the old quote. I'll change the quote. Bad information in is bad information out, right?
Yeah.
So if we don't have where the events are at the school level, right?
Yeah.
So if that ever doesn't make it to the person who's posting it, then we could have the best website in the world, but we don't have the right information. So as much as we're converting to this tool, we know as a district we have to get better with our communication. So this will be a platform so that we can get better information out, better communication lines, and make it all streamlined. So
Absolutely, yeah. And let me give you an example of what I mean by when events aren't posted. For example, at Nashua South, we had midterms 2 days ago. There was no information about that posted on the website at all, not on the calendar nor on the website. So I'm just saying these are things that we can improve upon on the new website, which would be helpful.
Okay. Thank you for that. So any other comments or questions before we vote? Okay, so all those in favor of, sorry, I just zoomed this in too much. Oh dear. So all those in favor of approving the 5-year contract with Final Site, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Hopefully that's the final time we have to do that.
The next motion is to approve the recommendations for fiscal year 26 deferred maintenance as updated for $1,045,000 and capital improvement projects for $5.2 million.
I'll second that motion so we can open it up to talk about it.
Thank you.
Okay, comments or questions? Go ahead, Ms. Daniels-Williams.
I just wanted to say that this was one of the things that we talked about with Mr. Smith, so Mr. Smith can talk a lot to it, but he's worked very hard on this, and this is money that we have in-house to do these things.
Well, what I presented two things, the money that we have in-house currently, which was FY '25 and before, and then, but we're presenting for the $1,045,000 was for FY '26. So that's a whole new set of projects. Keeping in mind a couple things. We never get $1 million. If we're lucky, typically we get 100,000, and then by automatic action, they usually add a couple 100,000 more to that. So over the last 2 years, we've got about $1 million to spend. I'm not sure that's going to continue from what I hear with the city finances. Also, the city is changing its processes. So you used to go to capital improvement and list your deferred maintenance all in one as a project, and then all your capital projects, which are typically $1 million and more. They're looking at that whole process and totally revamping it. So I'm proceeding as though we're doing the same thing we did last year, but understand that some things may change in the coming months.
I have a follow-up question to that, Mr. Smith. If we don't get all of the money that we're requesting for deferred maintenance, how are the projects decided for completion?
I will undoubtedly come back to you and say, these are my recommendations based on the funds that we receive.
Okay. So it's not up to outside of our board it's you.
We'll make a recommendation to you and
Yeah. No, I like your recommendations.
then just accept them and we'll move on.
I will just accept them. Okay. Any other comments or questions in regards to the deferred maintenance recommendations?
I kind of wanted to just update you guys with what we are doing this year, in case you were curious. This year, the Dr. Crisp Security Vestibule was completed. Birch Hill and Main Dunstable Elementary Schools will be done late summer 2025. The security vestibule at New Searles will be done in late summer 2025. And the Stello Stadium and field repairs are underway. So, yeah, I think it's important that we have some idea of what's going on currently.
Yes, we have definitely invested a lot recently.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Smith.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr.
I
Smith.
probably missed something with my.
I just want to add, so I did revise the deferred maintenance list that you saw at Finance and Operations. I worked with IT and they're funding actually the PA system, right? It's still happening. So I was able to shuffle a couple projects up into the current year. And, but I also wanted to say is we did receive $325,000 additional from the city for the facility master plan. And I created an RFP, and that should now be posted on the city website. I expect, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it gave them about a month to respond, so that in probably the March Finance and Operations, we'll have recommendations. That process will probably take about a year to wrap up.
Okay.
So I guess I have a question. Because in the finance and operation, we said that 2025 was funded by money that was already there, right? And everything was rated by priority from high to medium. What has changed from that list? Because none of us have that.
You should have a spreadsheet that was sent to you on the upper left-hand corner. It's dated January 23rd, 2025.
And that's different, yeah.
I think what you're referring to is that list had a high, medium, low priority. I think there was some confusion, right, around during the finance and operations meeting as far as what is priority. I would say, as we heard from Mr. Smith, we don't tend to get a lot of deferred maintenance, right? It's just like a house. You gotta go ahead and repair things little by little. Otherwise, they're gonna cost you a ton more several years down the road. So these would probably be all high priorities. I think there was a lot of confusion around what is high, medium, low, who really came up with those prioritizations. So we did go ahead and remove the high, medium, low.
I took them off, and they all become high priority at some point. I folded in the results of the roofing study we commissioned last year. They indicated, okay, some roofs you need to address right now, some can wait 5, 10 years. So that's all in the deferred maintenance plan in those corresponding years.
Ms. Raymond?
Is that, is the new study that was approved by the alderman going to retrace some of the work that we have represented here? Like, is it gonna look at the roofs again, even though we just had the roof plan? Or is it only the stuff that is not on this list?
I will encourage them to look at everything we've already done, so they don't have to repeat. We've had some various consultants, not only for roofing, but for mechanical, that have given us ideas, and they've done studies.
Yep.
So I'll give them all that information to incorporate.
So that they'll have everything and then they can decide. I think that's wise. Thank you.
All right.
So I guess my last question is there anything that Regan needs to note that's different? Because like a lot of the ones that were for 2026 are no longer on that list. Like a lot of it has changed, so nothing has to change from, because we're accepting the minutes from the finance and ops. And that's what you were gonna talk about. But if everything's changed, how does that work?
I'm not sure if when I made my motion, I included the parentheses that say as updated. If I need to make another motion, I can.
You can amend your motion,
Okay.
just to say as updated, as presented tonight,
Should I say the whole thing again?
if you want to.
Oh, please.
Clerk.
Okay. So my motion should be to approve the recommendations for fiscal year 26 deferred maintenance as updated for $1,045,000 and capital improvement projects for $5.2 million.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Prin. Okay.
So can you clarify what is going on with the study that the city is doing and how the list keeps changing?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith, can you speak to that?
Go back to the first question if I could. So what changed between the Finance and Operations Committee and this meeting? As I think I said, the public address systems, the 2 high schools at the end of its life, and that was originally on this list to be funded with the money we already have, with the FY25 and before money. So I moved 2 items up that were lower on the list, and those were to replace windows in the front wing at New Searles and to do roof repairs at the high schools. This board approved another study to look at the high school roofs. We haven't received those results yet, but I'm anticipating repairs are going to be needed. Those roofs are both 20 years or older at this point. As far as the facilities master plan, so they're going to do a comprehensive look at all of the schools, particularly look at all the major systems. When I talk about a system, it could be the mechanical system, it could be the electrical system, it could be the roofing system, it's a building envelope, walls, insulation, what have you. They look at the grounds surrounding the school. They'll look at the playground safety, for example, and then they will provide assessment by school where everything stands. That will include Mount Pleasant. Somebody in the audience mentioned what happened to that. That's still in, it's one of the schools being assessed. And then they will make their recommendations based on the conditions of the various schools. And I fully expect that will have a big impact on our deferred maintenance list and our capital improvement list.
Ms. Darling?
Do we have general time estimates like March, April, May, when all this might be happening?
I'm hoping we will award a contract in March, and that it should take them about a year to be coming back to us with recommendations.
Anything else? Okay. Ms. Gilio?
I just have a quick question about New Searles. Is the window replacement related to the new security update that we're planning to do there? Or not?
It is very related, because we're moving the main office to the front And those windows, they've been on our deferred maintenance list for years. And for security reasons, at least for the main office, since that's coming forward, we're replacing those windows. But not all of the entire front. There's like 4 panels if you look on the school. They will replace half of them, and this will do the other half at the front of the school.
Thank you.
Sorry, last quick comment. These constructions operations won't be happening while students are in school, correct?
The construction pieces or the assessment?
No, the assessment's fine, but the construction, like actual construction, won't be happening while students are in school, correct?
That's part of when they're coming up with what needs to happen, and the order of priorities is also what's happening within the schools and do we need to move students around? If there are things that are tied, one would come first if it's not affecting students, and then one would come second if it could be done over, like, let's say, a school vacation.
I see.
So they take all of that into account when they're coming up with the plan for the construction plans, because we want to have the least amount of
Hustle
disruption
yeah.
to the students. And also, depending on what the construction is and what kind of movement we need to do with the students would affect the project as well.
Okay.
So there's a difference between moving students from one section of classrooms into a gymnasium or pulling all of the kids out of a school and into another school. Because I think I've talked about this before, but back when I was at Elm Street and Dr. Crisp was doing their updates, all of the kids from Dr. Crisp, because there was asbestos, had to be moved into, so we had cute little 6th graders at Elm Street in the other wing. So that does go into project planning when they're coming up with the priorities and how to get things done.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make sure that students weren't being disrupted by any construction. Thank you.
Yeah. No, there are always our numbers.
Yeah. I guess I should come to the actual committee meetings then.
No, it's good. I'm glad you're asking questions, because I'm sure you're not the only one who has them. But thank you. Okay, so any other comments or questions in regards to the deferred maintenance? Mr. Johnson?
I just wanted to let Shay know as well that Shrey, right? Shrey?
Shrey.
That you can also go to YouTube and see a lot of those meetings, and you can go back and look and see, what was discussed. So you can, if you want to, you can definitely do that and learn a lot about what the meetings are like for the committees.
Absolutely. Yeah, I read the board, like the minutes online before I came to my first meeting, obviously. But yeah.
Right, but the minutes don't give you that real feel of it.
Yeah, of course. I'll study up.
No problem.
And you can watch them on like 2 times, 3 times speed, which is how I do things.
Yeah, trust me, I know.
It's a good trick. Ms. Darling?
Whether you watch the videos or not, you should definitely come to the committees because they're fun. That being said, ask all of the questions.
Yes.
Every person here has the greatest intentions, but we need to be called out sometimes too, and do that. It's what you guys were elected for.
Yeah, I'll keep you in check. Don't worry.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments in regards to deferred maintenance? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the recommendations for fiscal year 26 deferred maintenance as updated and the capital improvements projects, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes.
Okay, so our next motion is to form a newly established central registration for the Nashua School District to be located at Birch Hill Elementary School. Can I get a second?
I'll second it, and then I have questions.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead.
So my question is about why Birch Hill? And 2, is Birch Hill on the bus route? Because I thought the closest bus stop to Birch Hill was like next to my house on the other end of the road.
So why Birch Hill? So we looked at 3 or 4 different locations around the district. And I'll give credit to Mr. Smith and Mr. Lasad. We're looking at the portable classrooms. So they'll be housed there.
Keep them at Birch Hill?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
And so the room is in there. It's, we were looking at moving the portables to, say, central office. That was going to be $150,000 to move them over there. So again, not cost effective. We did talk to Nashua Transit. I think the closest stop is at the corner of Dublin Street. But they also talked about if we possibly have to make some modifications. When we looked at actually McCarthy, they talked about possibly of altering one of the routes to help us with that central registration. So I'm confident that we'll be able to work with the Transit Authority on providing some public transportation. We looked at, again, we looked at Fairgrounds Middle School, and when we looked at the total cost of the renovations, this was the most cost-effective, and then it's in a location where we don't, there's plenty of parking. The bus route might need a little altercation or alternate run, but it's a place that we want to make sure it's one-stop shopping for our families. We will be locating some ELL representatives, our family engagement liaisons. Transportation would move over there, special education liaison. So really, instead of our families now, if they have 2 or 3 students, especially at different levels, have to go to 2 to 3 different schools. So if we can really have one welcoming center, I think it's easier for our families to enroll in our schools, get all the information at one stop, and it'd be much more convenient for them. And again, why Birch Hill is we have portable classrooms over there. Mr. Smith can talk to, he's done an assessment on, it's some money, but it's short money to keep those portables located at Birch Hill. And really bringing it forward tonight is one for information purposes, but also from planning, just that we have another school facility or another building on our property, and it was accepted by the board.
Okay. I mean, I can totally get behind doing this in a cost-effective way, and there's probably enough parking at Birch Hill once the big garbage things and the storage units are gone. My biggest concern is that I could only support this if the bus route changes, because that stop by Dublin is on the corner of Dublin and Dumbarton, which is 2 full blocks away and a giant hill, and there's no sidewalks for the entire length of Dublin. You don't get a sidewalk until you get to Birch Hill. So it's not something where, I mean, I did it for all the years that my kids were at elementary school, but it would not have been fun to do it with a stroller and an infant and another kid tagging along in January. So
Thank you, Heather, for mentioning this, because when we had our meeting, we were kind of told that the bus route went to Birch Hill, and I didn't know.
It might, but I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, I didn't know enough to question that, and you're correct that we should definitely make sure that the city line will go there. And so I don't know, I mean, would it be possible to put off this vote until we get more word from the city, or?
I second that.
Yeah.
Could amend the motion to say we approve it on the condition that the bus goes to there.
Yeah, I'm totally comfortable with that. And again, we can work with the Transit Authority. Some of the urgency now was really for working with the JSSBC on what's the final cost on our Birch Hill Main Dunstable projects. So if we have to move the portables, it's $150,000 in that project. If we don't have to move the portables, then we save $150,000. So that's essentially where.
Well, I mean, having the city extend the bus line, how long would that take to go through? Does it have to be approved by the alderman and the mayor, or is it?
It's working with the Transit Authority. We had that conversation when we were thinking about moving McCarthy, so it's a conversation with them.
How long do you think it will take to get word?
When we make contact with them.
Okay.
I would like that reassurance, just because, again, there's a small hill between the corner where the bus stop is and my house, and then it's another block and a half, and then a big hill, which I did not enjoy doing when my kids were little. especially on their little tricycles. I was carrying them and their tricycle.
So again, I think just along, again, we'll work with the Nashua Transit Authority, but this almost speaks to the need for a central registration. Right now, if you were registering at Birch Hill,
Right, it's not convenient at
it's
all.
not convenient, right? And so, or if you're registering at Sunset, or, right, it's like you're going to different places that may or may not be on a bus route. But we're still requiring families to go to the individual school to enroll their child. So I think this is, again, the central idea around a central registration is to make it a warm, welcoming environment for our families when they enter the school district, so.
I love that idea,
Yeah, I'm 100% behind that.
but I also think that we should table it till we have everything all together, because I don't think that we can speak for other departments if we don't have it all worked out. Is there a bus that goes over to the McCarthy?
No, there's not.
And that's my point, like, we had that, you said we had that conversation, and if we needed it, we could have, but we didn't get it, so I just think we should table it for now.
It's fine.
Well, you could just withdraw your motion and we can bring it up at the next meeting.
Right.
Thank you, guys. I'm sorry. I've never tabled a motion, so I just want to withdraw this motion, and we will discuss it at our next meeting.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. We didn't, never mind. Sorry, Ms. Lampier, the floor is still yours.
Unfortunately. Now I want to make a motion to approve the fiscal year 25 December transfer report.
Second?
Thank you.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the fiscal year December transfer report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it for finance.
Okay, so I will now hand the floor over to Ms. Raymond, like Ms. Heather. Ms.
Whatever.
Raymond for policy.
I answer to a lot of things.
Paper.
All right, so policy met on January 21st, which was last, Tuesday. So we have a few things. I noticed that the agenda isn't broken up into first reading, second reading, like it usually is. So I'm just gonna talk through it. So the first policy is EF. And we had EF on the agenda in December and we approved it. But we had some public comments about it. And then when Mr. Posca went back to review some changes that had been done to state law, it's Administrative Rules 603.01 to .06 now, or 4?
As of December 2024 is 06.
6.
So what we'd like to do is, we brought it back to policy, and tonight I want to make a motion that we approve the new updates to policy EB, the joint loss management.
EF?
No,
It
it
should be EB.
should be EB.
It should be EB. So lots of typos. My motion is to approve the changes to EB, the Joint Loss Management Committee, with one further change, and that is the legal references should say 603.01 to 06 instead of 04. And I would like us to go ahead and approve that tonight because we already have looked at this many times, and now I am quite comfortable that we have gotten it right.
Okay.
I don't think it needs another first reading.
Okay. So are you making that motion?
Yes, that's the motion. Did I say it slow enough?
Yes, I can second that.
And Ms. Lampier is seconding. Any other further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm toggling between multiple open windows here. Okay, so the next policy should be on for a first reading. So I have two motions. The first motion is to suspend the rules so that we can waive the first reading for JFABE. And if I have a second, I'll tell you why.
Second.
Thank you. I'm giving Ms. Lampier a chance to write it down.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Oh,
Any opposed? Motion passes.
thank you,
Sorry.
guys. I appreciate it, even though I didn't tell you why. So the New Hampshire Department of Education Grant Management has been auditing all of the policies on grants across the state, and they had asked us to make this change so that we can be fully in compliance with all of the state laws. And so, hold on, I've changed my page again. This policy, is this a totally new policy? I think it's a totally new policy that we didn't have.
Correct.
And so we're doing a lot of this already regarding foster children, but this policy just really makes it very clear that our obligation is in the best interest of the child.
Just to piggyback on what Ms. Raymond said, this is through several audits we've had with New Hampshire Department of Education. Policy JFABD is about our McKinney-Vento, homeless unaccompanied youth. They were asking about our foster care policy. We did not have that in place, so the recommendation was to put this into place as part of the audit finding, which is why Ms. Raymond has asked for the waiving of the readings to be suspended so they can move forward with this in the minutes and we can put this into play immediately.
Right. And so just to note that this policy does require the superintendent to designate a staff member to serve as our district point of contact between the New Hampshire DCYF, Department of Education, and other child welfare agencies. And so we didn't ask the superintendent we didn't give any guidance to him on who he should appoint. And I have complete confidence in Dr. Andre to figure out who that person should be. But that would be the person who gets to be the arbiter of all of this stuff. But the bottom line is that when kids go into foster care, we want to minimize the impact on their education and also their social emotional well-being.
I think that's fantastic.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I just wondered, do we know who it will be since it's going into effect immediately?
I haven't spoken to the person directly, but I know what office who typically deals with all our best interest determination, so it would typically be that office, so.
So until then, it's Dr. Andre.
Phone starts ringing right now.
Right, go.
Ms. Raymond, did you make the motion?
So the motion, I didn't make the motion. I only made the motion to suspend the rules. So I move that we approve JFABE, Education of Children in Foster Care.
Second.
Second. Oh.
Who seconded? It was Ms. Daniels-Williams. Okay, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving policy JFABE, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, and so also what should be for a first reading is policy KFA, conduct on school property. I wasn't intending on waiving the first reading, especially since we didn't have any public comments. So I would like to bring it back next month unless there's objection from the board. This policy is designed to create a code of conduct for school events and activities. As we all know, it is becoming more difficult and more expensive to get officials for our sports games. It is difficult to get coaches, and there has been a growing trend over the last several decades of people behaving badly at school events and athletic events. In the committee, we talked about Sometimes we have some of our students officiate, like some of the rec league stuff. And I know parents who go to be there with their child, their teenager officiating, because sometimes other parents get a little too much in the face of kids. And so basically this policy says that you have to behave in a sensible way. You can't harass staff, students, or officials, or you will be asked to leave. It also talks about droning. So as drones become more prevalent, you have to actually get permission to fly a drone over school events. So it lays out that as a requirement as well. So I encourage everyone to read it, come back next time. Actually, if you have questions, we can bring them to policy next week. No, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And then if those questions aren't answered at policy next time, bring them to the next meeting.
I know my only question will be, and I'm sure you'll cover it, is just the enforcement of the drones especially. I don't know how we would do that, but you'll address that in the meeting.
So
just sit there with a potato gun or something, knock it out of the air.
So it actually has an enforcement section and what the consequences are. So basically, the superintendent and administration will need to decide, like, who's the authority at events. Like, frequently, my kids do sports, and frequently Miss Gingras is there, right? And so when something is wrong, we go to Miss Gingras.
Yeah.
There was an incident several years ago where there was bees during a cross-country race, and we found the principal. And he found maintenance, and they took care of it. So there's usually someone from staff, but I would say that it would start high and go low. But at the end of the day, even if a coach feels like someone is acting out of line towards the students, this policy is really designed to protect the integrity of our students' experience.
Fantastic. All right, well, we look forward to seeing that go to policy committee and then coming back to the floor.
May I ask where I can find this?
Yeah, so it is on, if you go to the website for the POE, is it under agendas?
Yep.
It would be there on tonight's agenda and also last month's policy agenda. At the end of the meeting, I'll get you guys' emails and I'll just email it to you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, that concludes policy. Did you have anything else?
No, I don't remember what day we meet in February, but it's early because February is a short month.
Yeah.
It's like the second Tuesday in February.
I'm trying to visualize the calendar. I can't do it right now.
Right, I don't know what's on the list either, so if people have things that they want, please email me between now and next week, and I will add it to the queue.
I'm pretty sure it's Tuesday, February 11th, because I think finance and ops is at 4:30, policies at 6.
Fantastic. Oh, one thing we do have is social media policy. I think our new social media person is going to come and talk to us about what he thinks we should make as a policy for the entire district. So that'll be interesting.
Is that for next month or this month?
For February.
February, okay.
So the way
Committee meeting.
So the way it works with policy is we create a queue and then we talk about it in policy at our monthly meeting. And then the next month it comes here for a first reading. And then the second month we vote on it.
Okay, so it's quite a process, okay.
It takes a bit of time because we want to give the public a chance to read and respond. And sometimes they don't until it comes to the board the first time. No one's really out there being like, ooh, I wonder what's coming up in policy committee. It just doesn't happen.
And besides finance and policy, what other committees are there?
HR.
Human resources. And then we're going to be coming up on budget committee,
Curriculum.
which is incredibly fun. That's a short-term one. That's just a couple of months where we review the overall budget of the district. And we also have the Committee on Curriculum and Education.
Okay, thank you.
And joint special.
Oh, yeah, joint special where we talk about building maintenance and.
It's super fun.
I think it's fun. But I like that stuff.
We're being sarcastic when we say that they're fun, right?
No, I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So if you're in ones that have me in them, I tell jokes that often get kicks under the table.
I see, okay. I get it. Thank you.
Okay,
As we're talking about committees, we still did not form our our sealed records review committee. And I didn't see that on the agenda, which I cannot be the chair of, but I think Ms. Daniels Williams was interested in.
yes. Okay. I will remember to put that on this one. I don't know why I forgot to do that.
We have 10 years to review them, but we should probably get started because they go back to the 60s.
Yes.
And haven't we been working on them a little bit?
No.
No, Ms. Kinsella pulled them all and made a spreadsheet and divided them up, but she's waiting for us to create a committee and then set a meeting.
Wednesdays work well for me.
I think it'll be like a 4 times a year or something like that, council.
Okay. It'll come to the board next meeting.
Thank you.
And we can assign people and come up with chair and then the 2 people who will be on it. And we should probably invite Tom, our attorney, to it to discuss what the process is going to be, because a lot of it is going to have to be in non-public because we're reviewing minutes that could remain non-public.
Right, so basically what happens is you review the non-public minutes privately.
Right.
And then the committee makes a recommendation about which ones to unseal, and that's the recommendation that comes forward. Like, you'll get in the packet should be a spreadsheet of these are the dates that should be unsealed, and these are the dates that should stay sealed, and then the full board can vote. And then after the full board votes, the unsealed ones can be available to the public upon request.
Right. There are just certain stipulations that keep minutes private and ones that can be released. So we'll get some education on that before we set up the committee, so everybody's on board with what needs to be done.
Yeah, I can ask the School Boards Association too if they have a training. I didn't see one, but they might.
They don't, but they gladly take recommendations on what trainings they need to create. So if you want to email that off, if it's not there, they'll get it done. Okay, so this brings us up to not committee on curriculum and evaluation. Go give the floor over to Ms. Giglio for HR.
Okay. I'm making a recommendation to suspend the rules to consider items from the HR meeting held earlier this evening.
Second.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. Our committee recommended to approve the personnel recommendations of January 27th, 2025. So I'm making a motion to approve those.
Second.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
I just want to point out the number of people who've worked here for as long as some of us have been alive who are retiring, and I'm very sad about it.
Yeah. Dr. Andre?
So that was going to be my comment. I just want to congratulate Sharon Coffey on her announcing her retirement. She's been with the district a number of decades. In her, we're surely going to miss her leadership, her love of the district, her dedication. She's such an incredible educational leader. I feel honored and privileged to have worked with her for a number of years. So we're surely going to miss her, and all the other retirees as well.
Yeah. There were plenty of retirees on there that were my teachers, 5 years ago when I was in high school.
I think Ms. Giglio was saying that one of the teachers on the list taught her children.
Sue Carr from New Searles. My daughter's now 44. She had her in first grade and then in second grade after maternity leave. And then my son refused to go to second grade if she were not his teacher. So she's been at the heart of New Searles for decades and decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, lucky them. I can't wait to get to retirement time, huh?
I just need to say, because I know that Ms. Coffey does watch these meetings, you are going to be so sorely missed and are an absolute angel on earth, and I appreciate everything that I have seen you do for all Fairgrounds kids, not just my son, but I've seen her go above and beyond so many times, and she has honestly given me so much hope for the future of middle school. So thank you so much, Ms. Coffey, for all the work you've done.
Ms. Lampier?
I just have to comment that when I saw how many retirees there are going to be, I was really dismayed. So many people with so much experience leaving the district. It makes me a little uneasy about the upcoming few years.
Yep, that'll be a lot of work that these guys are gonna have to work on. All right. Go ahead, Ms. Raymond.
Like, I agree with Ms. Lampier. However, I mean, if you've worked here for 30 or 40 years, I feel like it's okay for them to get a break.
We'll allow it. They deserve a break. I certainly didn't mean to make them feel guilty or anything. I just think that we as a district are going to have to deal with
It's a lot.
with their loss. Yes.
Yeah.
Huge loss. It's a huge loss.
All right. Well, with all of that, all those in favor of begrudgingly accepting the personnel recommendations, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Oh, shit.
Honorary nay.
An honorary nay.
And we do welcome all the new teachers that were on the list too, though, so that'll be
Well, absolutely.
exciting.
I just think we should ask Ms. Coffey to stay another decade or two.
All right, well, congratulations to everybody on their shifts in life. We're very jealous.
I'm
Continue on,
making,
Ms. Gilio.
I'm making a recommendation, or I'm making a motion to elect Marissa Gothier to the position of Assistant Principal of Amherst Street Elementary School at an annual salary of $81,688. This was approved by the HR committee earlier this evening, and we got to meet with her,
Yes.
which was nice.
She was fantastic.
Ms. Claffey, I don't have that recommendation written in my book. Can you give me
Yeah, I'll just hand this to you.
Okay,
You can
thank
have
you.
it. Okay, great.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
I'm just delighted that we talked to her back in September or October, maybe even earlier, when the position was first posted. And she's coming from within the district. She was a special ed coordinator. I was just really impressed with her in the fall, and I am equally impressed with her now, and I'm really excited about the experience that she's bringing.
Yes.
That's it for HR.
Excellent. Well, I think we need to vote on.
Oh, we didn't vote on that yet.
So all those in favor of the administrative recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, this brings us up to new business, and I will hand the floor over to Dr. Andrade.
So I'm going to,
Special guests.
special guest, I'm going to invite Jan Vulik up to the microphone. We're looking for a recommendation to approve the at the end. Yeah. We're going to be looking for a recommendation to approve the YRBS survey for middle schools for the spring of 2025. And Jan can give us a little background on a little bit of the survey and how it's going to be used.
Do you want the motion first or the presentation first?
I think if we can make the motion and then we can open up for discussion.
All right, I move to approve the youth risk behavior survey, right? For middle schoolers for the spring of 2025.
Second.
Thank you. That was Ms. Raymond and Ms. Daniels-Williams. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, good evening, and thank you for letting me present to you this evening. As I said, my name is Janet Valuk, and I'm a retired Nashua health education teacher. So I congratulate all the new retirees, and they're not going to look back. And especially Ms. Coffey, because I worked very closely with her as well when I was working with the Nashua Prevention Coalition. So I've been involved with the NPC since its inception in the 90s. Since 2009, the Nashua Prevention Coalition has aimed to prevent and reduce substance use in youth by increasing awareness, education, and community involvement. It's our belief that healthy kids grow healthy communities. Back in 2017, we presented to the Board of Ed the importance of collecting data at the middle school level And with the board's approval, we administered the middle school YRBS in the spring of 2017. It was administered again in 2019, but all of the surveys were lost in the mail since we had to send them off to be analyzed. And then COVID hit. So we've not administered the survey since then. The high school YRBS, which is approved by the state of New Hampshire as being the only survey that can be administered without board approval from each independent district, will be given in spring of 2025. And we would like to administer the middle school YRBS again at that time, coming up soon. We know that the Nashua Board of Ed wants the children in Nashua to be happy, healthy, and productive. This survey will help us to do that by collecting data on the unhealthy or risky behaviors that our children are engaging in and how we can support youth and families in the best way. So a few details about the survey before you ask questions, because I know that a lot of you have some questions in the back of your mind. First of all, it's a national survey that members of our steering committee have changed to meet Nashua's needs. It's completely anonymous. In fact, if a student cannot take the survey without help, then we recommend that they not take the survey at all, because that would do away with the anonymity. There's no cost to the school district or to Nashua Prevention Coalition. There's a grant from DHHS in New Hampshire that provides for student assistance program counselors here in Nashua, and as a part of that grant, it includes administering a middle school YRBS. So we are both, the school district and Nashua Prevention Coalition, very lucky that this money is coming our way, since this survey probably costs about $10,000 to administer and analyze. It's designed to collect evidence-based data. The data will be used to determine what issues we have and how best to do our work within the schools and our community to address those situations. The survey will be posted on the school's websites with an opportunity for parents to opt out, as is the high school YRBS is an opt-out with a signed note electronically from a parent. NPC depends on grants to exist, and the relevant data is always required, whether it be a local grant or a federal grant. Many local agencies also need the data for their grants, so anywhere from Boys and Girls Club, United Way, PAL, Girls Inc., you name it. If they're applying for any kind of a grant that includes substance misuse information, they want data, relevant data, up-to-date data in order to apply for that grant. And it will also be available in Spanish. And that translation will take place by I don't know how many of you know about JSI and CHI, so John Snow Institute and the Community Health Institute up in Concord. They manage a lot of grants through the state, and they are taking on the total responsibility for translating the survey into Spanish and coming up with all of the results. The one really good thing about, and the difference between the middle school YRBS and the high school YRBS, is that the state handles all the analyzing of the data for the high school YRBS. For the middle school YRBS, JSI is going to handle it, which means we will get the results within 2 to 3 months. The high school data takes approximately a year and a half, which by that time, you might as well just throw it out the window because it's really not relevant anymore. So we're really lucky that JSI has taken over with this and we'll get our data quickly. I think you received a packet including the YRBS survey in it. It is 17 pages long. JSI has told us that it'll take approximately 1 middle school class period. And the options for administering it will be determined by Dr. Andrade and the middle school principals. We've gotten letters of support from Mike Athelberg from the United Way, who he was going to come and present this tonight to you. However, he's in Honduras. Through my Rotary, I belong to the same Rotary Club as he does, and they're down there doing lots of treatment for the people in that area and working really hard to make the world a better place. And there's also a letter from PAL that I have from Sean Nelson encouraging the board to approve this survey. So that's just a brief introduction for you. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Ms. Raymond?
I like that you just now look directly at me. You're like, I know she's going to have a question.
It's like we've been on this board for years.
Right. So we have a policy on non-academic surveys. It's policy ILD. And the last section of that policy says, is regarding the youth risk behavior survey from the CDC. And it says, New Hampshire law requires a district to provide parents, guardians with notice at least 10 days before the youth behavior risk survey is administered, and parents may inspect the survey. It says at the administrative office, but it sounds like you're going to have this online somewhere.
Yeah.
And then it explains how they opt out just with written notice. Are you anticipating following that exact thing for the middle school level?
Yes.
Okay. That's my question. Thank you.
Ms. Lampier?
I'm just wondering, because it's been so long since we've been able to do these surveys, has it meant that we've lost grants, or how has the system been handling that?
Well, the Nashua Prevention Coalition specifically, we were functioning under a drug-free community grant for 10 years. That grant just ran out. It's not a renewable grant, so now we are in the process of applying for many more grants, and this data is going to be extremely important. So we haven't lost any grants because of it. We haven't been able to provide in a lot of the agencies that would always come to us and ask us for the data. Will go online and get the best they can through other resources. Tobacco Free Kids has a survey they do and that kind of thing.
Okay.
I also just want to mention that the survey results are going to be aggregated. So all three schools at the middle school level will be combined.
Oh, good.
We will share the information, obviously with you, if you want all of that information. It'll be shared with the principals at the schools, but it won't separate out each school individually. Because the one thing that a lot of districts that do these surveys, they don't want people comparing, oh, well, at my school, this happens, and we're better than you because we have better numbers, so we don't want the internal competition within the district.
Makes sense.
I know you just said that the survey won't separate by school. Will it separate by grade?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I have two questions. First, you said the survey takes 3 to 6 months to process and fully get the results of, correct?
Yeah, probably 3 to 4, but they didn't want to make, JSI that does the analysis didn't want to make any promises.
Okay, makes sense. Is the survey registered paper format or online?
It's going to be completely online.
Okay, so why would it take so long if it's online? Wouldn't you just get the answers? I'm assuming it's multiple choice.
So they'll come up with an analysis and a comparison. It just takes, sure, they're just hitting buttons to come up with the answers, but they'll make a comparison. They'll look at, the ages of the students, and it's not as easy to just come up with the answers. And the high school one is ridiculously long to get the answers for that one.
I see. Yeah, I think I remember taking it.
Yeah, you took it, I think the last time you took it was in November, 2 years ago in November. And then this year, they're going to get back on the cycle of springtime. So it'll be given again in the spring at both the high school is, all 4 grades take it. Middle school, I guess I didn't specify, but middle school, we're requesting that it be 7th and 8th graders.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad it's online. I'm happy that we're not, killing trees to create the survey.
Oh, I used to. We killed our fair share, and they all got lost in the mail. The paper
That's crazy.
surveys, that's when it
That
was
must
paper.
be so frustrating.
Yeah, no, it was extremely frustrating. Some of them showed up at central office, all mangled and tangled and messed up. It was like, how did some get there and not, I don't know, it was in a dump somewhere.
Okay, and is the survey is completely anonymous and it's only for the data, correct? So there's no way if you see a student who's at risk, there's no way you can do anything to help said student. There's
Correct.
okay.
Yeah, and that's one downside of it.
That is a downside, yeah.
Because if we, there's questions on there asking about their well-being, their mental health, and certainly if we knew who it was.
We can definitely do something to help them.
Exactly.
I understand that completely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But it does give us an idea of what the numbers are, and certainly we design our programs to meet some of the responses to the questions. And I know when we gave the middle school YRBS in 2017, which was a long time ago, the number one people in the school district that wanted to see the results were the guidance counselors. See where they should be focusing their attention and things that they should be working on with their students. And certainly, with SEL now a huge.
Yeah.
And are you saying that's not possible for guidance counselors to see the results? I mean,
They'll see the results, yes,
they
for
will.
sure, they'll see
Okay,
the results.
because I think all of us here recognize the importance of mental health in students.
Yeah,
And
and we've added,
at
and
risk.
there have been a few more mental health questions added to the survey from what it was back in 2017.
Absolutely, I'm glad to see that. And will the survey questions be updated to reflect more modern thinking and modern problems rather than just the old problems? Because I'm sure if you ask someone right now, oh, do you smoke cigarettes? The large answer is going to be no. But if you ask someone, oh, do you vape?
We have updated it to include vaping. We've updated it to include vaping marijuana. Those were not in it initially, but we have updated it.
Absolutely, yeah, that was just an example, but I get it, yeah.
The beauty of this survey, contrary to the high school YRBS, is we have no control over what's on the high school YRBS, because that's a nationwide. This is the state of New Hampshire working on it, and we worked with JSI and talked with them and made improvements, updates, changed some of the wording to be a little bit more appropriate. So we've had some really good input into what we want this survey to look like.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. And just out of curiosity, could you share some of the results from the last survey we've taken with us? Do you know any off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, but I do know that tobacco was a huge usage. Tobacco and alcohol, marijuana were the top three substances.
Yeah, sad to see.
Tobacco's gone way down, we know that, but vaping's gone way up, and we know that too. So we are working on that.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments or questions, Mr. Johnson?
Will we know the percentage that opt out?
I mean, sometimes it's hard, because a lot of times, I think, and Dr. Andrade can contest to this, that if they know a survey's being given and they don't want their children to take it, they'll just keep them home from school. So we don't know if it truly was an opt-out or if it was just, but there's, I mean, we're not going to chase after people. If they decide they don't want to take it and keep their child home, that's their prerogative as well.
And on this point, I know many high school students just don't take the survey if it's not, required. Do we do anything about that, or do we just let that slide?
I mean, so the survey is designed for students who wanted, and I went through this when I was teaching at the high school and gave surveys. They would just sit there and they'd go, they'd make a geographic, but the survey is designed to just automatically throw those out.
Okay.
Because they somehow, the algorithm just knows that it's.
I'm glad, yeah,
because
if someone's,
seriously.
if it's all like A's are the only answers, then,
Yeah, no, that's gone.
Absolutely. And you said this is 17 pages long?
Yeah, but there's only like 4 questions on a page, 4 or 5 questions on a page.
That's much better.
Yeah.
Ms. Lampier?
You said that all the data will be aggregated within our district, but so that we won't compare schools and stuff. But will we receive information just on our district, or is it aggregated across the state as well?
Oh, no, it's just for our district.
Just for our district.
And we can separate out the 3 schools.
Okay.
It can be separated. We can have them do whatever they want. But it's not something that we're going to publish individually, at the individual schools' data.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, and if anybody didn't get a copy of the survey and would like it, it's right here. I only have one, though.
And one of my concerns is that, is there any way like the data is offset? Because I know more academic and more students that aren't inclined to smoke drug or do drugs, smoke, drink, they're more likely to take the survey because they'll be in school more often. Is there any way the survey offsets that data?
I don't think so. I don't see how they could do that.
Then wouldn't you get skewed results? I mean, if you're only targeting one demographic with a survey, or if they're being overrepresented in the results of the survey, wouldn't that, make it seem like our kids are doing much better than they actually are?
I mean, the survey is given to everybody. That, all the students at the high school, I mean, you said you remember taking it a couple years ago. Everybody takes it, but we don't really have any control. It's not like monitors are walking around making sure, oh, you answer this or you answer that. I mean, but when you're surveying so many students, we should get a fairly good idea of, and, I did anyway as a teacher, health teacher especially, just encouraged everybody to please just be honest. It's anonymous. There's no way you're going to get in trouble. If you answer something, just answer it honestly. So.
And this is information that carries over to other agencies who are then able to, like, for example, if the Boys and Girls Club recognize that there's one pattern of behavior that they can interrupt with a grant that they can apply for, they can then reference the numbers that are on this. So where it does offer an important opportunity to create some change within each student, the overall arching goal here is to create all of the programming that can happen that can interrupt patterns of behavior with larger groups of kids. So it's not targeted at individual student changes, it's community changes. And when you do a big survey like this, you're gonna see patterns. And it's actually, I've seen the information applied in grant asks in other facets of my life, and it's actually pretty fascinating because they can show our averages, but also the national averages. And they do follow the same kind of, like, all of the kids from here to California tend to end up doing the same type of behaviors. And then they can create even nationwide changes, like bold and stop and that kind of stuff. So it's, there may be some skewed data, but when you lay it up against the rest of the nation, you do start seeing patterns, and it's pretty impressive, actually. It's quite the undertaking that you guys do. And then how the information is used amongst our community and the rest of the nonprofits.
Thank you.
But
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. I've just a suggestion. If there is any way that you could take some of the, data out, like unbias it on your end, or I don't know, maybe give a reward to the people that are taking the survey. If that is a possibility, then that would probably make the survey results much more representative of what actual society's like.
So the award would probably be a pat on the back. Good job. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was thinking of a candy bar, but yeah, same thing, I guess.
No, being a health teacher, we're going to leave out the candy. It would be very hard because we've got, Dr. Andrade, how many students in the middle school? A lot.
Doing the quick math, about almost 1,900 students.
Yeah, so even if we had, 1,500 that answered it, if say 300 or 400 opted out for whatever, and it's never really been that high, that would be a huge expense to reward everybody.
I see. And you guys aren't just targeting the public schools, correct? I hope you guys are talking to private schools and charter schools about
So
this.
the only schools that this will cover, because of the contract with the state for the student assistant program counselors, which are in the public schools, it will only be given at the public school level. Okay. So we're not targeting BG or Academy of Science or Design or any of those, because they're not. So it's a contractual thing. We work with those schools in the work that we do, but we don't. The survey is not administered to them.
And you said, sorry, I must have missed it. Why not?
because there's a contract from the state of New Hampshire to cover the salaries of the student assistance program counselors that are in each of the schools.
Okay. I see.
And through that contract, they're covering the YRBS survey at the middle school. And I don't even know the answer to, I only know about of the public schools in Nashua, but I don't know if BG or any of the other schools even participate in the high school YRBS. I don't know.
Okay. No, that's fair. I see. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Raymond made the motion, seconded by who? What was it? Ms. Daniels. Okay. So all those in favor of approving the YRBS survey for middle schoolers for the spring of 2025, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, Dr. Andre, back to you.
Yeah, I'm making a recommendation to approve the November 2024 Nashua Ed Foundation grants in the amount of $19,208.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
And also ginormous thank you to the Nashua Education Foundation again.
Can I just add, since we've acknowledged a few retirees, Robin Perringer,
Yes, I saw that.
I don't want to say how long.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know if you can make that.
Yeah, no.
The good news is she's been with the NEF for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And she's not leaving there.
Absolutely. And she's also working
Can
on.
I finish? Thank you. And I also, I'm willing to bet that she mentored a lot of the South students who Dr. Andre recognized earlier. We know she had a hand in a lot of that.
I apologize. But also she is.
I have to acknowledge you first before you go. Mr. Shah?
Also about Miss Robin Perringer, she is working on a scholarship right now for the late Mr. Gray, in the name of the late Mr. Gray, for seniors of Nashua High School South. So just, applauding that.
Yes, thank you.
She was his babysitter.
Oh. Small world. Okay, so Ms. Raymond made the motion, Mr. Claffey seconded it. All those in favor of approving the November 2024 National Education Foundation Grants Awards, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next, making a recommendation to approve the donations of Charlotte Avenue Elementary for $83,497.50 from the Charlotte Avenue Elementary PTO, and a donation to the Sunset Heights Elementary for $6,190 from the Kyle Bendinger Memorial Trust.
All right, I'll make the motion.
Second.
And ginormous thanks to both the trust and all of the parents and guardians of the PTO. That's a lot of money that they work to raise.
Yes.
And it's going to make a big difference.
Seeing any comments or questions? Mr. Johnson?
I need to see this bookworm vending machine at some point.
Yeah.
That looks amazing.
All right, so all those in favor of approving the donations to Charlotte Ave and to Sunset Heights, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I'm going to invite Ms. Athletic Director Gingras up to talk about the recommendations around our hockey programs.
Hi,
Ms.
everybody.
Gingras?
Thank you for letting me come speak to you about this. I know there was a relatively lengthy packet in your board materials for this meeting relative to all things ice hockey in our city. So just briefly to kind of summarize, we are looking to dissolve our two current boys ice hockey programs, North Sauhegan and South Pelham. We have the support of both Pelham High School and Sauhegan High School to do that. In your packet, you have a signature page with my signature, the building principals, as well as the ADs and building principals from the other schools. And sort of this is all one big package. So the next is with the two boys' current co-ops being dissolved, we are looking to form one boys ice hockey team with students from Nashua North and Nashua South combined. So that's one of the things we are looking for approval from you this evening in order to submit any new cooperative team proposal to the NHIAA. We need the proposals you see before you answering all of their questions, and we also need to submit signatures from district leadership as well as school board meeting minutes that it was discussed in a public environment and that we have the school board's approval to move forward with that. The second proposal is something brand new. Nashua has never had high school girls ice hockey, so we are looking to form a 3-school co-op between North, South, and Sauhegan. Little history on that. Sauhegan has always had its own girls ice hockey program. Nashua never has, but they have seen declining participation over the past several years. And with the increase in interest in our city, this is a win-win for everybody. So Sauhegan actually approached me about that and kind of the two things put together. So in terms of resources, budgetarily, it will be a little bit of a wash. Obviously, next year would be more expensive because we got to buy all new uniforms for everybody for the 2 brand new teams. But moving forward with that, budgetarily, it would not be much different than what we have been supporting for the past 10 years with our 2 co-ops. And then facility resources wise, we have commitment from Conway Arena that we have always had 2 ice hockey teams. We have always had 2 sheets of ice. We've always had the support that Conway was our home arena for both practices and games. And they have committed to continue doing that with 1 boys ice hockey team and 1 girls ice hockey team. Just to let everybody know, everyone around the horseshoe, but also publicly, just because we submit these proposals to the state, it is not a done deal. We will most likely not have an answer that this is approved or denied until May. So the first step is coming before you this evening. Ms. Braley, the athletic director at Sauhegan High School, will be going for the girls co-op to her school board on Thursday. Once we have both sets of minutes, we will submit everything to the state. We have until the end of February to get that done. And then it will need to go before the ice hockey committee, then the classification committee, and then finally, final approval or denial would not come until it goes to the executive council in May. That was a lot of information, but I was trying to be quick.
I have a question. What happens if we get to the end of this and they don't approve it, but we've dissolved the boys' co-op teams? Does it go back to what it was?
That's a great question, and that is a little bit of risk that we are taking. I don't want to say that Sauhegan is looking for other alternatives for their boys. On the Pelham side, to be honest with you, there's only 2 Pelham students in our program right now, and 1 is graduating. So going back to the current co-op programs, I don't think would be an option. So that is a little bit of a risk that we are facing. I'm pretty confident that we'll be okay. There is precedent set in ice hockey that Manchester was allowed to co-op with their 3 public high schools in the city of Manchester, which combined at the time that was approved, they have a population of about 3,300, which is similar to what our 2 high schools would be combined going into next year.
Okay. I would just hate to lose some.
I agree.
I'm not a risk taker, so.
So this was not an idea that came about lightly or a decision that was made lightly. Looking at the participation history from the 4 schools, North Sauhegan, South Pelham, it has declined over the past 10 years. So North Sauhegan Co-op, it was actually ironic when we went to the old proposal to kind of write the girls one, and I was changing 2015-16 to 2025-2026. So it was just weird that it was exactly 10 years apart. So when we originally started, we were about a 50-50 mix between North and Sauhegan. And as I said, now we're down to 14-6, and several of those students are graduating this year. So between the two boys' current programs, we are graduating about 18 players. So, yeah. And again, just to put it out there publicly, Mrs. Braley is working very hard to find a new home for her boys. So the boys won't be just left out in the wind.
Okay, good. Ms. Lampier, and then Ms. Daniels-Williams, and then Ms. Raymond.
I was just wondering, what reasons might this proposal get turned down for?
So one of the bylaw requirements, I was trying to look for the phrasing there. One of the bylaws specifies that the total combined enrollment can't be bigger than the biggest school in the state of New Hampshire, which is Pinkerton High School. But again, as I just mentioned, Manchester, the precedent's already been set that it's been approved for ice hockey for the 3 Manchester schools with a combined enrollment of about 3,300. I'm a little concerned on the girls' side because our combined enrollment with the 3 schools is a little over 4,000. So I am a little concerned about that, but I think because Sauhegan's already an existing program, they may allow us on the girls' side to add on to that. You're welcome.
Ms. Daniels-Williams?
I'm loving that we talked about doing the girls' hockey. And I know that this was definitely a heart drive of this board to support that because it came from the community. So I love that. My question is, as we incorporate with Sauhegan and Pelham, but Nashua North, when it says down to the funding, that we will carry the responsibility to buy the uniforms, transportation, and game nights. And I know you said it didn't change from the last time we did it, but will they be paying into our athletic?
So on the boys' side, we would no longer be partnering with Sauhegan and Pelham. So that's why it would now be 100% the Nashua School District's responsibility for all of the finances. But for the past 10 years on one side and 9 years on the other, we've been paying, sort of for simplicity's sake, half of each ice hockey program. So now we're taking the half we've been playing at North, the half we've been playing at South, and putting it together and paying that full.
Work same for the girls, I'm just.
Yes, so with the girls, it will be North, South, and Sauhegan, and the way we've written up the proposal is our financial responsibility would be based on the percentage of the students from each school on the roster as of the first game. So it would not be a 50-50 proposal. That is how our current South Pelham proposal is written, because that cooperative team has never been 50-50. So Pelham has not paid 50%. It's been based on the percentage of the roster, which would be what we would do on the girls' side moving forward.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Johnson, Ms. Raymond, and then Mr. Claffey. You good? Okay. Ms. Raymond and then Mr. Claffey.
Okay, thank you. So I'm excited to see a proposal for the girls' hockey because I know we've been talking about this for at least a year. Last year, there were significant concerns about the number of girls that Nashua could, I'm going to say field, even though it's ice, but also about the enrollment data, because what happens if the NHIAA says, listen, you've got like 4,200 kids in these 3 schools, whereas the biggest school, Pinkerton, only has 3,000 kids? Because it's like not even close. It's not a couple hundred kids different. Do we have enough girls at this point between North and South if they say no?
I do not believe we do. And obviously that would be a different financial situation as well, because then we would have to support that entire ice hockey program, that entire cost. So that's the other thing. I believe at this point in time, our best option is to partner with Sauhegan. They've been an established program as long as I've been doing this job. And on one hand, it looks as though we're jumping on with them, but on the other hand, they're very excited to have home ice.
Right.
They are a program that they're in 5 or 6 different rinks throughout the whole season. So they're looking forward to having a home. And at this point in my last conversation with Ms. Braley, their athletic director, she has said if the partnership doesn't go through, their team may have to fold.
Okay, because I mean, it makes sense to me if we've had a North Sauhegan for boys, that a North Sauhegan for girls makes sense. I'm very worried about the NHIA coming back and being like, well, only the North girls can play, and those 3 girls at South are out of luck.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The proposal would either be approved or denied. They
Okay.
wouldn't alter the proposal.
Okay,
So they wouldn't be able to just say, well, these 2 schools can, but this third one can't.
so you think this is our best shot for girls hockey?
Yes.
Okay. And then my second question is about uniform costs. I'm recalling from Building McCarthy last year that we had to spend about $20,000 on some uniforms, but I don't remember which those were or if it was for a whole team. Is it going to be significantly more for hockey?
So for going back to the McCarthy, the uniform project, the approximately $20,000 was for every uniform for the entire school year. So
Okay.
that was for everybody for the middle schools. Hockey uniforms, the last time we replaced one set of uniforms because they have home and away was about $3,700. And that was 6 or 7 years ago. So obviously we all know costs have gone up. So I'm estimating it'll probably cost us $8,000 a team to purchase those uniforms.
Okay, and then
And that would, just to follow up on that, that would come under the athletics budget, would not be asking for additional funds for that.
okay, is there a booster for hockey to help families with like stuff, sticks, and I don't know what you wear for hockey?
Yes, skates, sticks, helmets, the whole bit. So each team has a fundraising team account sort of thing, but there are used athletic equipment all over the place. If you came to my office recently, we have lacrosse sticks, we have track shoes, we have everything because people just donate things. So I'm assuming that if someone wants to try it, there's plenty of people who have old equipment that their children have outgrown or just moved on from the sport or whatever, that we would be able to supply people with some stuff.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate all the work that you've done on this.
You're welcome.
And this is completely off topic, but thinking of all the stuff that you have in your office,
What do you want to donate?
I don't, but I know I've talked to you before about doing a loaner closet. And I know in the past we've had that, and it was run by the Honor Society, right?
So our student athletic leadership councils have talked about doing sort of like a yard sale, but more of a donation, just come and pick up sort of thing, not really an exchange of money, but just an exchange of equipment.
Like a Katie's Closet, but for,
Yes,
I was going to say combat clothes. It's not, it's sports.
very similar.
But yeah, that would be contact sports. That's what I was going towards. So that would be nice to get up and going. I know you have that. I think you have a shed that can be used. I don't know. I could be making stuff up. It happens. Anyway, Mr. Johnson?
I'm just very excited about this. I mean, I'm hoping everything goes smoothly for you. And yep, fingers crossed. This was when I was running for Board of Ed. I had parents approach me about the girls' hockey. And I know Alyssa Landsteiner has been on your ear a lot about the girls' hockey and wanting that program to get off the ground. So hoping everything goes well.
Yep.
Also, as a designer, I would be glad to donate for free to do any crests that need to be done for both teams to try to defray some of the cost. And anything else that you need design-wise, I'll do for no cost.
Thank you. We are still under contract for our uniforms, so would be going with our contracted company.
But thank you.
Yeah, but everything, as they say, everything comes with time, and there's a time for everything. So it was a matter of getting to the point that we are now before we could come forward with this proposal.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, this is exciting. Mr. Claffey?
Thank you. So Ms. Jingers, you're not going to ask for more money for these programs when we do the budget in a couple months?
It should be very similar to what we're paying for ice hockey right now.
And will any existing programs suffer as a result of, I understand the boys, it's a wash. Girls would be brand new. Do you foresee having to make some sacrifices to support this?
I don't believe so. Might some female student athletes choose to participate in ice hockey instead of something else in the winter? Maybe. I can't speak to that, but the girls that I know that I know, that I have names, I have grades, I know who's interested in this program, they are currently not playing another winter sport at the high school right now.
I guess what I meant was, would you have to take from, say, girls' basketball or football or girls' soccer? If you're creating a new program, you're saying it's not going to cost more money, I would think you'd have to take money from somewhere else.
It will be a consolidation, I guess. It's not going to negatively impact another program, I
That's
think
it.
is the question you're looking.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so all those in favor of approving the submitting,
I don't think we made a motion.
no, I'm doing it right now. No, I wasn't. I was going to vote on it. Sorry. Well, I'll make the motion to approve submitting the NHIAA proposal regarding boys ice hockey competitive cooperative teams and creating the new, what is it? Is it written down here? Do you want to just read it?
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll read it.
A motion to approve submitting to the NHIAA the proposal regarding boys ice hockey cooperative teams. The proposal includes dissolving the North Sauhegan and the South Pelham teams and creating a new North-South boys ice hockey program.
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations. These girls are going to be.
Do we need a separate
need a
motion
second.
for
I think that
girls?
was just the
Need a
boys.
separate motion.
Yeah, those are the boys.
Louise.
Okay, so the next motion is to approve submitting to the NHIAA the proposal regarding the formation of a girls' hockey cooperative team between Nashua North, Nashua South, and Sauhegan High School.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ms. Gingras.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did it. Okay. Back to us. So this brings us up to our last new business, the BOE prayer, which Ms. Darling had asked to be on the agenda. So I will let you speak to it and do what you want to do. But turn your mic on.
So I want to start by saying that religion, faith, spirituality, they're all beautiful expressions of a family's values and beliefs. And I am so proud to be a part of such a multi-theistic community. And it's because of the religious diversity in our students and in our community that I want to see the routine change. I know that we all learned about the First Amendment in school, freedom of speech and religion and press. There's an establishment clause that's put in there that basically says that, let's see, there's a bit in there called the Establishment Clause, which is about the government not being able to establish a religion for the public. And in the case of Engel versus Vital, the Supreme Court ruled prayer in public schools or school-sponsored events unconstitutional. However, they did also establish a clause that says prayer is allowed at the beginning of a legislative session, which is how we've kind of come by it for so long. The question kind of becomes, are we a school-sponsored event or legislative session? And I'd be willing to bet every single person at this table would say legislative session. We all went through elections. We got voted in. That is painful. So we all like to think legislative all the way. But according to the Carozzo Law Review, school board meeting prayer cases are just as divisive as school prayer and legislative prayer cases, which I didn't think I was going to see evidence of until I started getting emails. The federal circuit courts have struggled mightily with these cases, resulting in a circuit split regarding the constitutionality of school board meeting prayer. At the core of this split is whether these cases should be governed by the court's school prayer precedent or by its narrow legislative prayer exception. That's a quote from the Carozzo Law Review. Based on the Supreme Court case of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, Incorporated versus Chino Valley Unified School District Board of Education, the deciding factor for which side of the line a school board falls on is based on a guaranteed presence of students. As our board is proud to have its student board members, the court's precedent surrounding prayer in public schools infringing on our students' First Amendment rights is valid and worth our consideration. I'm not suggesting a large change. I feel like I've definitely heard others on this board say that that prayer time is their moment to take a breath and put their board hat on and get ready for making sometimes really hard decisions. I don't want to rob any of us of that minute. My suggested revision would sound like, as elected board members, we have the high honor and serious duty of managing the public educational institutions of our beloved city. In our common endeavors, may we find the spirit of unity and understanding, which will enable us to face our multiple problems with an objective mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will be for the betterment and greater happiness of all of our fellow citizens. I'm sure most of us who have heard the prayer many times could hear that there are very few changes. All I did was replaced Almighty God with as elected board members and dropped the final word, which is amen. Doing so would make it an opening statement instead of a prayer. It's non-secular, which I think is kind of the way we should go in order to be on the safe side of respecting our students' rights. So, and I would love to hear everybody's opinions, please.
Ms. Lampier?
My very first Board of Education meeting that I came to and watched from the audience, I was surprised that this prayer was here because I had always understood that the separation of church and state and freedom of religion is super important. And when I became secretary and I was reading this prayer, I actually found myself surprised at how meaningful it is to me to read it. It is, and I am really happy with your proposal to just remove Almighty God and Amen, because I think that our dedication to our school board and our endeavor to be the best we can be for our students goes beyond one name for a religion. There are so many different types of religions in our city. And I think that a non-secular idea would make me really happy. And I also wanted to just commend Ms. Darling for bringing this up because, like I said, it was something that I thought of the first time I ever came to a meeting, but I never really had the courage to bring it up because I was afraid it would be too divisive. But I hope that our board can agree that these changes are not major, and that that it would work for our board. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ms. Raymond, then Ms. Daniels-Williams.
I have a question. Would you also want to change the agenda where it says prayer to something not prayer, like invocation, reflection, statement, opening statement? I don't know. I feel like if there's a motion, the motion should also include replacing the word prayer with another appropriate equivalent.
We'll just say opening.
Opening statement, opening, don't care.
Ms. Daniels-Williams?
So I thought long and hard on this. Everyone knows how I feel about that, but this isn't about me. So I would like to agree with what you said, but I want everyone to realize, and the public, how important it is to remove the words Almighty God and Amen. We understand that everyone has a different prayer and they have different religions, but as a school district, we could be more inclusive and find out what that means to other people and say that instead of removing one of the foundational things that caused the Board of Education to be a Board of Education, to cause public school to be public school, was so that America could learn to read the Bible. So even though there are some precedents, I couldn't find anything that said that there was an absolute that a school board could not pray. But I will accept it because I'm a believer in God, so I'm not offended. but I also do not seek to offend.
Thank you.
Can I just say that was really beautifully said?
I have to agree with that. Ms. Gilio?
I am a very prayerful person in my personal life. In fact, you may be surprised to know that I pray several times a day. However, I agree completely that our country is founded on the premise of separation of church and state. And for that reason, I can support Ms. Darling's bill in motion. Thank you.
I see you have your finger. Do you have something to say?
It's hard to put this into words. As a Muslim, I've always felt very out of place because I was always surrounded by mostly other Christians. So when I first came into my first meeting, I heard the prayer and I was kind of shocked. I was sort of frozen. I didn't know what to do. And I have very similar beliefs to Christian beliefs. So I thought, I don't know, this is weird to me. What do I do? But I do think that removing the words Almighty God and Amen from that statement is much better than having them in there.
Thank you. Mr. Claffey?
And I think I appreciate you speaking up because I think if you look at the legal constitutional history, recent history, is discomfort the word that you said you felt? Or is that, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, uncomfortable, frozen almost, like I didn't know what to do.
And that's what the court uses the courts have used different tests to determine whether the Establishment Clause has been violated. And the third test is called the coercive test. And that's where students who are, I'll say students because you're with us sitting here, but adults we're kind of running the show. And we're in a superior position to students. And that's why I think if you put students in a position, this could be members of the board, this could be students that we bring in to recognize, but if you bring them in here and you start with a prayer that begins with the words Almighty God, I even felt awkward at the first meeting looking around and not saying the prayer. I didn't think it was right, and I wasn't comfortable doing it, but doggone it, I thought it was wrong. And if you look at the history of the Supreme Court, yes, in 2014, the Supreme Court said, or ruled in a very close 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court said that at public meetings of organizations that have a legislative purpose, you cannot ban prayer. But school board meetings are not legislative meetings. We are inextricably bound to the mission of our students and our school. And if you do a simple search, a Google search, is prayer legal at school board meetings, the first word you'll see is no. Now we got an email from that's
Hold on. If she has something to say, she can speak at public comment, so we don't need to respond.
It's not an opinion to say that I typed in, is prayer legal at a school board meeting, and the first word was no. That's not an opinion. The second thing is, the most recent Supreme Court ruling that dealt with prayer in school was in 2000. And in 2000, the Supreme Court said 6-3, you can't even say a prayer at a football game. Now, if you go, and I know I'm going over, but I'm trying to use the law to justify my position. In 2018, a circuit court, the Ninth Circuit Court, ruled unanimously that prayer at a school board meeting was unconstitutional. Now, the Supreme Court had a chance to take up an earlier ruling, but they chose not to the year before. So if you look at the legal history, if you look at what the courts have said, the most recent rulings, they unanimously said that prayer at public school board meetings is clearly a violation of the Establishment Clause. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now, you can disagree with them, but I'm saying I don't want to get sued. And that's what happened in this district. They got sued.
Yes.
And there's a reason why they got sued, because they were breaking the law.
Yes. Mr. Shaw?
I agree with everyone who's talked about this before me. I think a lot of people that disagree with this position think it's only just a few words, but these few words have impacted mine and Shake's whole life. Ever since preschool, we say the Pledge of Allegiance. What are 2 words in the Pledge of Allegiance that all of us say? I pledge allegiance to the flag under God of the United States. What if you don't believe in God? What if you believe in multiple gods? So I think it's like, look, keep the words in there, take them out. I personally, okay, it's just a few words. I'll just say it. Doesn't matter that much to me. But I think it's just really nice that we're trying to be inclusive and help everyone. So thank you.
And if I could just add, I'm sure you knew this from the wonderful socialist teachers you've had in Nashua. Those 2 words under God weren't in the original pledge.
Yeah,
they were added during the Red
afterwards.
Scare
Yep.
in the early 50s when people were trying to identify, who's a communist?
Absolutely.
And that's why I don't say those 2 words when I do the pledge.
And I don't either. I pledge allegiance to my country, not my God. So thank you guys.
Ms. Raymond?
So I just wanted to be clear about this because I was in Mr. Shaw's position in 19 or I think it was
2019.
when this came up previously. We had gotten a bunch of letters and I was ambivalent at the time. I do like the idea of what Ms. Darling has proposed, which is not to get rid of it altogether. Because I think that there's meaning in opening our meetings, reminding us of our purpose, and I think that that's helpful to us. I tried to find out if any other school boards in New Hampshire had or did not have a prayer, and Google did not provide me with any information whatsoever. So I have no idea what the precedent is elsewhere. But I do know, because I'm at the State House during the days, that they start the day with an invocation and that there's a rotating person that comes. And sometimes it's it's non-denominational, sometimes it's Christian, sometimes it's something else. And I don't think that we should open ourselves up to rotating things, but I do think it's really important that whatever is decided tonight, that the meat and potatoes of our opening statement or invocation or whatever you call it stays the same as it has been for the last, I think, almost 200 years that Nashua School District has been operating.
And I have a question. Have we consulted legal to see if it is illegal? Because it is we are considered legislative for the most part. So I don't think that we're going to be breaking any laws or anything like that. I mean, I honestly really don't want to push too hard back against it, but I just want to remind you that those are the most important words. But how about we be like the State House and have people come around? Everybody come around and do their own, because that's what we should be teaching kids. We are an education establishment.
So I did reach out to legal actually a couple of years ago, and I think Mr. Claffey, I used him as a soundboard for quite a bit of this, and he let me know I was in the moment overreacting. It was about a couple other things too. But I did consult legal then. Really, this doesn't even need to come up to a vote because the president puts together the agenda and I could just take it off. There is no legal precedent that the prayer needs to be happening at the meeting, that it needs to be on the agenda, nor that it needs to be some sort of denomination. So the fact that we're bringing this to the board to have a conversation about it is because I value everyone's opinions, and I want to make sure that when we're making broad changes like this, that we are taking into account the beliefs and the oftentimes guiding light that people have in regards to their life. And I don't want to take that away from people, but I also want to honor that we're not honoring everybody with this prayer. And I think it is a good way to start off the meetings. I had thought about maybe reaching out to one of the like the Unitarian Reverend, to see if she would write us something new that was more all-inclusive, but then I'm just bringing another religion in. So I like the idea that we're just taking it out, that we're still honoring the purpose that we're here to do, and we're allowing everybody to have a seat at the table and not feel uncomfortable with something that has historically given the majority and the more dominant folks in America the right to speak in the meeting. So I think this is better. I think it honors our community more. And it gives peace of mind to the people who need to open up the meeting and be reminded that we are here for our city and we are here for our students. I would have been fine if somebody wanted to suggest just having a moment of silence and having a reflection on what brought us to the board, what brought us into this arena. And if God brought you here, then you take your moment of silence and you thank that power. If it's policy change and legislation and instead of hugs and thoughts, then you can think to that. But I like the idea of honoring the time-old tradition of having this statement and then removing whatever makes it non-inclusive. And I would be in complete support of Ms. Darling's recommendation. Go ahead, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you. I don't agree with rotating around different religions, and that's just because there's so many. There's honestly so many religions, so many different denominations of Christ. There's just no problems. But our school right now is at the most diverse it's been in its entire history. I think we have 50% of people that are not of European descent. I'm pretty sure somewhere around there. So I really feel like in all of that, if we try going through every single religion, it's just going to take a while. And just for efficiency's sake, I do agree. Also, the first thing we learn in school, I'm an AP Gov right now, the first thing we learn is the separation of church and state. Religion is one thing, government is another thing. So I really do appreciate just keeping religion out of government for the majority, not for, if you want to do it yourself, that's fine. But as a majority, I guess government should come outside of religion.
Thank you. Ms. Lampier?
Can we make a motion?
Yes.
Ms. Darling, do you want to make the motion?
Can it be a roll call?
I am so happy for you to make it, and I'll second it.
Okay. Let's see. First, I have to figure out what I want to say.
Are you looking for it?
Yes, I lost the page now. Okay. The motion is to remove the words Almighty God and Amen from our opening statement, and to also remove the words prayer from our agenda.
And adding in as elected officials.
Yes, and adding in as elected officials. That's
Have
it.
the high honor and serious duty.
Oh, you want me to say the whole thing?
No.
You want to make it clear.
Changing our beginning
Amazing how
to,
that can just like infiltrate your brain even if you don't want it to.
and changing our opening statement to, as elected officials, we have the high honor.
No, I think you should repeat it slower in one line so that
Okay.
Ms. Kinsella or Ms. Porter can write it down, can type it up.
I'd like to make the motion to remove the words Almighty God and Amen from our Board of Education prayer. I would like to replace it with, as elected officials, we have the high honor, et cetera, et cetera. And I would also like to remove any reference to prayer in our agenda.
And replace it with opening statement?
And replace it with opening statement.
And replace it with opening statement.
Now you get to write it down.
Okay.
I'm going to second it before she comes up with anything else to add.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate the teamwork on that. I'll give Ms. Lampier a few moments to write that down. Do we have any other comments or questions that we would like to make before we vote on this? Mr. Johnson?
I just want to say it's very important to be inclusive of everyone. And for those who believe in prayer and who feel the power in it, they have that right. This doesn't take away someone's right to prayer. This simply says that we recognize everybody, and we recognize that everybody doesn't have the same beliefs, but we're all coming together for the same purpose. And that's, that's important. So people who like to pray, who believe in prayer, you still have that right, and our country gives you that right. So continue doing what you believe and understand that this is not taking anything away from you.
I just want to ask for the roll call vote, that's all.
Yep. Okay, just give it one more second.
I want to thank our new student reps for speaking up. This is like a really hot button topic for you guys to be the first thing that you've like shared your opinions on. And I said at the beginning that I wanted to hear from you guys and that it influences how I think. And I'm really, really appreciative because hearing that someone didn't feel welcome was not comfortable, but really important.
Yes. And growth happens in uncomfortable situations. I want to highlight that the last time we had new student reps, we had them vote on the GPA. So historically, January is not a great time for new student board members.
And I'd like to be very clear, I do not want to bring that issue up again.
No, we're not. We just have set a precedent now on,
We're done.
on
Finished.
hazing students on their first
Oh my
meeting.
God. That was such a big ordeal.
Yes, we remember.
Did you just say, oh my God?
Okay, I'm done writing.
Okay, so Ms. Daniels-Williams would like to do this as a roll call vote, so Ms. Lampier, can you please do the roll?
Could I ask a quick question? A motion for a roll call vote, does that have to be voted on, or is,
No, she can just ask.
She can just
so there's no Robert's rules on that?
I can't recall a single time in the history of the board where someone has asked for a roll call and everyone else has been like, no. Like, I don't recall it happening.
I could definitely think of times where I think we all wanted to say no.
Yeah, and I'm fine honoring that request. I think sometimes we, especially in votes that are larger than what we're normally used to, is it does give a sense of ownership over the change.
Right, and frankly, either way, if someone votes differently, Ms. Lampier would note in the minutes who voted the other way, like if it's 8-1.
Yeah, written down, it's still the same. It's just obviously symbolic.
Right.
Okay, all right, so Ms. Darling?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Print?
Yes.
Mr. Claffey?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels-Williams?
Yes, with prejudice, just to go along with the board.
Ms. Gilio?
Yes.
Ms. Bishop?
Yes.
And would you guys like? Okay,
Yes.
Yes.
okay, thank you. It looks like it's unanimous.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you for that, Christina. And I want to highlight again the amount of times that we have had to have conversations on this board that I think could possibly go into the weeds. And we have done such a great job as this board to actively listen to each other, to respect what each other is saying, and to be able to empathize and be compassionate and graceful with our members when we're talking about this. I'm just incredibly proud of the work that has happened on this board, and it's not always in agreement, but I think we all go home at night and it's not, we don't feel ganged up on, we don't feel beat up, we feel listened to, appreciated, and valued. So I just want to thank you guys again for just being so great to each other. Okay, so this brings us up to liaison reports. You're not on JSSBC anymore. Ms. Daniels-Williams was doing the liaison report. Oh, you weren't there. And I can't remember what happened last week. Pardon?
February, the next one, I'll be in Honduras.
Right. You had emailed me that. Ms. Raymond, do you remember?
It was an abbreviated JSSBC because.
Yeah, it's pretty much just budget review.
Right, we didn't have Harvey or architects, so we didn't have a lot of updates. We did learn that Stellos is coming along, they're putting the fence in. And we voted on doing some roof analysis at Stellos in the clubhouse there.
Yep.
And then we learned that the middle school project is a few $1 million under budget. And we asked the aldermen to take some of the leftover monies from the middle school project and put them toward the security vestibule project because we still have New Searles and Mount Pleasant as our last two buildings without security vestibules. The New Searles plans are complete. And we have enough monies left over from the middle school project to pay for that project. And then we talked about the aldermen approving that $325,000 facility study that Mr. Smith talked about earlier this evening. And that before we make any major decisions on further renovations, we should probably hear what the people have to say since the city is spending $250,000 on finding out what we need.
Yes. It's a big honey-do list.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Thank you for that liaison report. Any other committees? No. That's
No,
it.
we have negotiations, but we will
Yeah,
talk about that
negotiations. So
here.
just an update on negotiations. Mr. Johnson is going to step in for Ms. Darling on the para negotiations. And the meeting times and dates have been updated on the bottom of the agenda packet, so everybody should know when they're coming up. And then,
Can I ask you a question about that?
yeah,
I'm trying to remember the initials, AF's
yeah.
custodians. I got an email call, said we have a meeting, but it wasn't on that list, so has that meeting been moved? I think it was February 5th,
I was going to say, I think it's in 2 weeks, the 5th.
something like
next week,
that. Is
yeah.
that just because it's down the road, that's why it's not on
It
this
wasn't,
list?
yeah, it wasn't confirmed when the agenda was published.
Okay. Okay, so if you guys are having, if you're noticing pockets of time where you haven't been to your negotiations, can you just reach out to people? Okay. Ms. Raymond?
So I do have a question on negotiations. So negotiations are by nature not public, right? Until we get to that point. But at what point do you want the people on each negotiating team to bring back information for the rest of the board to help guide decision-making in the negotiations process? I think they're all still very new, so I'm just
Yeah.
trying to get an idea. Like, do you want to have like non-publics for that? I don't remember.
It will be non-publics, but I would like to lean on our legal team for when it would be an appropriate time to, I mean, we should all be listening to each other and kind of knowing where we are.
Well, but again, we can't really talk about it because.
Can't until an impasse happens, but
Right, but
if there's.
even with each other, like I wouldn't want to violate, the right to know law by talking to
Right.
people who aren't on the team and getting too many people involved.
Right. And I think last time with teacher negotiations, I mean, I was the president during that one, and I didn't get any updates on it because I wasn't on that committee.
Right,
So
and I
I
don't-
had no idea what was going on until we hit impasse, and then all that happened.
Yeah, my recollection is that wasn't ideal.
No. No,
So-
I remember that meeting.
Maybe we should.
So everybody
Not wait
needs
that
to be participating in negotiations in good faith and what you know what the board is going to agree to and historically what we have agreed to. If you're not operating in good faith in regards to the negotiations, which means that you knowingly know that you are not representing the majority of the board, then you need to probably have a significant internal dialogue with yourself. But until we get to a point where we need to be bringing it to the board, I'll let the attorneys decide when that is, because it's above my pay grade. Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay.
And I just have a question. I'm not on any of those right now, but what I'm saying is like, so how would you assume that you know how a third of the board would vote for that topic? How would, like, you know what I mean? Like, how would you assume that?
So if I were doing it, I would take a look at how often do we take the guidance of our CEO, of our administration, our attorneys. If we historically didn't follow their recommendations, I would say that we have a board that is not in support with leadership. If you look back at our meetings and look at leadership and see that we consistently support their decisions, I think you can know that we would continue to be in support unless what they start saying just seems completely out of whack with what we're used to. So it is a little bit of, you need to like have your own internal measures, but if you're getting a lot of pushback from administration, I would probably just have a one-on-one conversation with the attorney or with Dr. Andre.
For the next time that I'm chosen.
Yeah. Okay. So this brings us up to our second public comment. Ms. Darling, would you mind? This is an incredibly long list for second public comment. Gary Hoffman, please come on down.
Gary Hoffman, 38 Perham Street, Townhouse D, Nashua, New Hampshire. I'm also the president of the Teachers Union. Just on your agenda, just you might want to fix a couple of things on the negotiation section. Just the time we met today was 1 p.m., not 11 a.m. We also have a third session, February 19th, and so you might want to put that on as well since you had the third para negotiation session. Second, thank you for passing the Joint Loss Management Committee Policy EB with the recommended, with the changes I had asked for. The Student Violence Prevention Management Plan is something new, and now that's in there, and you updated the legal reference too. So thank you very much for that. Secondly, for the policy committee on policy KFA, I know we had a pretty good discussion about freedom of speech and just making sure that, yes, we totally understand why you need this policy, but we also do have people who sometimes come to these meetings and they hold signs, and we need to make sure that we protect their rights as well. I think one thing we had talked about potentially focusing policy KFA on is making it student events in particular, maybe just identifying that and then defining some of the words, what does harassment mean, et cetera. So I will be at that policy meeting, and just, yeah, that's the only thing I would ask for that. Lastly, just want to, since we're thanking so many people today, I just want to echo Robin Peringer in particular, as president of the Teachers Union. She's done so much for us over the years. She served on our executive board in multiple capacities, served on our several negotiating teams. She even made our mural. Has been a union representative for decades. She serves on PDMP. It's going to be a huge loss for us as well for the district. Sharon Coffey as well. She was the principal who hired me. And just one of those people who gets up every day, and she was always so reliable. You knew what you're going to get, and she showed up, and she was steady. She always listened to the concerns of the teachers. She always followed the contract, and that steady and reliable leadership is rare sometimes. So I will miss Sharon Coffey a lot. And I wish her well in retirement. Three other people, though. So we actually had a social studies teacher win the VFW Middle School Teacher of the Year, Maria Dominguez-Diaz. And I just wanted to bring her name up, a really fantastic teacher and my former student. We also had two ELL teachers from Mount Pleasant, Lisa Renaud and Wendy DePanas, who won the NEFI ELL Teachers of the Year. So Maria, Lisa, and Wendy, I just want to give a congratulations, and just, we should recognize them as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. All right. So this brings us up to the end of our meeting, which is also board member comments. I will start over here with Ms. Darling for board member comments.
Not gonna lie, you guys, like after receiving emails, I was really afraid to have this conversation about the prayer and stuff. So like, thank you all for listening and being so supportive. I appreciate it. And have a great night.
Thank you. Ms. Raymond?
Thank you, and thank you to Mr. Hoffman for bringing that up. We really have amazing staff here, and I'm so excited to hear that they're being recognized outside of here as well as here. So I just have two things that are kind of policy related at the state. First is, it's been in the news quite a bit. There was discussion last week about a state law being proposed regarding cell phones. And it is likely to pass everything because everyone really loves the law that was proposed. So Nashua really needs to think about how we will implement it. I really think it's going to pass, and it will require school districts to make a policy about cell phones. So I think we should really start beginning that conversation. I know that North had a pilot at some point. I don't know what happened to it. There's some surveys that have been happening with teachers, so I would love to see that come forward organically instead of us top-down saying what there needs to be. And the other thing I wanted to mention was I was up today at the Education Committee at the State House listening in on some bills, and there was a lot of discussion about the role of school boards and superintendents in legally, and also what our obligations are. And the theme of the day was really that it's to protect kids. It's to make sure that kids have a safe and appropriate place to learn. And it was really encouraging to hear all of this testimony in support of the work that we do and that superintendents and staff do to make sure that when kids are here, whether they're in the classrooms or whether they are at events, that we take actions and we create policies to make sure that they are safe and ready for learning. So that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Prin?
I always feel like I don't have a whole lot to say after speaking after Ms. Raymond, but I actually want to also thank you, Ms. Darling, for bringing up the issue of the prayer. I didn't really say a whole lot about it, but it always made me feel uncomfortable to have to say a prayer that it just made me feel uncomfortable. So thank you for bringing that up, and I'm glad that we've made some changes.
Thank you. Mr. Claffey?
I always feel uncomfortable, after speaking after Ms. Prin, but thank you very, it's been 2 meetings, and you've already, I said enough earlier, but thank you for bringing that up, because it's bothered me for 3 years, and I didn't have the guts to bring it up either.
Mr. Johnson?
Just on the retirement list is like a who's who of teachers who've had influences on my kids' lives, so it's something else to see. I definitely want to give a big shout out to Sue Carr, teacher at New Searles, who had a tremendous influence on my son and helped him unbelievably. And she was also on the PTO with me. So I'd like to think that part of me being on this board is thanks to Sue Carr and working with her on that PTO. Also, with with what we did tonight, I want to thank Shawanda for looking at her own beliefs and looking outside of that at how it affects other people and being able to be unified with the board, even though it went against your personal beliefs. And I think that's a tremendous strength to have on this board. So I commend you greatly for that.
Thank you. Ms. Daniels-Williams?
No comment.
Ms. Gilio?
I missed the first meeting 3 weeks ago because of an unfortunate accident in my home. But I'm just really happy to be here tonight with all of you. And thank Thanks to everyone.
Yes, we're happy to have you back. Ms. Lampier? Lampier?
There you go. All right, so let's see. As most of you know, my son Ethan had an IEP, which guaranteed he would have the support he needed to be included in his public schools. It was more expensive to educate my son because he needed extra support, but he had a legal right to an education. All children with disabilities have that same right. This year, we have heard from multiple sources, including both parents and staff, that we are falling short when it comes to the education of kids with disabilities. Now, New Hampshire's state share of education spending is the lowest in the country. Most funding for public schools comes from our local property taxes. This means that almost every school district in New Hampshire has to make painful choices about where our money goes. But we can never forget that we are a public school system. We are entrusted with providing the best possible education to all students, whatever their socioeconomic status, their first language, or their disability. Our district must take any shortcomings seriously. All of our students deserve better. And as budget season approaches, I urge the public to come to our meetings and share your concerns with this board. Your participation will help us make choices that provide what your kids need to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I've said what I wanted to say in regards to thanking the board for positive discourse and change. And just really appreciative that we're all able to sit down together. And I mean, I really feel like we just have our district at the heart of all of our decisions when we're in here. And I'm really grateful to you guys. So thank you. And with that, I would be looking for a motion to.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Uh-oh. We got this fight going again.
No, Shawanda can
Think we
have it.
seconded. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.